Proceeds to sickbay. The doctor should look at it as soon as possible.
It is the way in which we propagate our species. Please demonstrate how this is accomplished. So, what's next? I don't know.
Hello, and welcome to Casual Trek, a Star Trek recap and ranking podcast brought to you by Nerd and Tie and the Moral Majority. I'm Charlie Etheridge Nunn. I'm something of an empath and a fan of that one comic where a babysitter once puts baby Superman in a microwave.
I'm Mars Reed Lobato, a science fiction writer and a fan of the time that Judge Dredd, while traveling the cursed Earth, fought and killed Ronald McDonald, the Burger King, and the Jolly Green... Wait a second. Put baby Superman in a microwave.
Yes.
Are you sure you're not watching that one clip from the Flash movie in reverse?
No. There was an anthology where I think it was Carl Baker or someone suitably cartoony had like a kind of Looney Tunes-esque thing of a babysitter being left with baby Superman. And she was running around and trying to get him to calm down and trying to find some way of just having any peace. And when Ma and Pa Kent came back, everything was destroyed. The babysitter was exhausted and Clark was in the microwave, kind of glowing slightly. And Ma and Pa just looked around and went, could you do next week as well? For one person that could wrangle that baby.
For one moment, I thought this was like a Silver Age backup strip in like an old 1950s like Jimmy Olsen or some shit.
No, this was when I was still working at the comic shop. This was very early aughts, I think.
Bloody hell. For some reason, everything you said just kind of reminded me of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, there was definitely an amount of that kind of energy, and it was an adorable story. I get why some people might have taken it the wrong way. But yeah, it was good fun. It was less objectionable than the time that All-Star Batman and Robin got pulled, because they'd done all of the lettering and put really flimsy censor bars over it. And because Hit Girl existed, Batgirl had to swear all the time. So the time she said,
"Please do not address this unit in that manner,"
you could actually read it through the censor bar. And that issue immediately got pulled.
Did the Wolverine issue where Wolverine calls Sabretooth a particular slur?
Oh no, Sabretooth called Wolverine, and yes, it got pulled.
Okay, it did get pulled.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Again, I was there for that. I don't know if my copy of it, I think it might have been later, because I didn't bother picking up Wolverine at the time. But yeah.
And with my one, it's just like, I can see why they didn't reprint these particular Judge Dredd stories for another like 30 years until British law changed to avoid litigious action. And I remember they had to actually ask way of apology to the Jolly Green Giant, and to avoid a lawsuit, there was like a 6-panel comic in 2000 AD where Judge Dredd and Spike's Harvey Rotten shill the Jolly Green Giant products to prevent a lawsuit, and the actual Jolly Green Giant, as in on the tins, gives them more stuff.
Wow. So, yeah, we're not here to talk about those things, though. We're here to talk about Star Trek, and specifically, as you might have guessed by our examples there, we're back to talking about episodes which were axed by Auntie, banned by the Beeb, and I'm not sure what would be a C there for censored. But yeah, that. We're back to mostly original series here, but we've got one extra little bit of Star Trek as well. So, that's going to be good fun. But before that, Miles, what non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying since we last spoke?
Well, last week, Reanna and I celebrated our 12th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
We have been married 12 years. That also means I've lived in this country for 12 years as well. And our plans didn't go as intended because of the weather. So instead, we just ordered in a nice pub lunch, and we watched a double feature of horror films. starting off with something relatively creepy, and then something dumb as fucking bricks. The first film we watched was Alex Garland's Annihilation,
Oh, yes.
based on Jeff Vandermeer's incredibly weird novel. Annihilation, when I saw it in the cinema, might be the only time a film has ever made me close to having what Kevin Smith would refer to as a bladder evacuation.
Huh.
The scene with the bear.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The bear will do that.
And Reanna really liked that. And then the second film, which was dumb as fucking bricks, was, and has a tangential link to Star Trek The Next Generation, was the Tobe Hooper film Life Force, which is a piece of cocaine-fueled 80s canon film group insanity, where basically naked space vampires come to England and cause shenanigans.
Wow. I mean, yeah, when you were saying cocaine fueled and canon, surely that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's ironically it was the second cocaine-fueled canon film I'd watched that day, because that morning I watched The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, also by Tobe Hooper. Unlike Life Force, I do not recommend The Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2. It was a dreadful film.
Oh, wow.
Life Force, on the other hand, is fucking insane. And ranging from just like incredible, like most big budget blockbuster type films which flop, you can kind of see where the budget went less on sets and actors and more on, it was the 80s, let's be honest, more cocaine. But the special effects look amazing. They're done by John Dykestra, who did the original Star Wars special effects.
Yeah.
The score is amazing, but the actors involved, at times, the background actors are all British and have trouble, either they're very close to like breaking character and laughing, or they're visibly corpsing because they don't know how to react to what directions they've been given. There was one of the main characters clearly doesn't know how he's meant to be performing in this scene, so he just kind of looks around and trying to hope that no one notices how completely lost he is right now of what's going on. And if you watch the international version, Patrick Stewart smooches a guy, and it's his first on-screen kiss.
Oh, wow.
But like, it's if you want to watch something terrible, which is also enjoyable, because there are choices made on every single level. I do recommend Life Force. I know it's on Prime in the US. Unfortunately, it's not the version of Prime where Stewart kisses a guy, but you're still gonna get a fun slightly bonkers film.
Nice.
And to answer your next question, no, I'm not going to appear on a podcast talking about it in the next 6 months.
Oh.
Sorry.
Ah, surprising.
And what about you, Charlie? What non-Star Trek thing have you been enjoying?
Me, well, I have been enjoying having a comic subscription, specifically to 2000 AD. As people who have been listening for a bit might have picked up on, I've been getting into old 2000 AD, and I saw there was a big crossover thing happening between so many of the 2000 AD worlds in 2000 AD and Judge Dredd magazine, and that after that would be a jumping on point. So I picked those up in W.H. Smith, as you know, you kind of, a lot of news agents don't have them, but W.H. Smith is still good for that sort of thing. And in fact, should soon be stocking Shift magazine, which I have a story in.
Ooh.
Yeah. But just...
Yeah, it would have picked me up a copy.
Yeah. It's it's a comic anthology. So it's one of the Cadavers anthology, Fractured, that will be in it. But just the idea of going, oh my god, I'm going to be stocked in places like W.H. Smith. It's weird. Yeah, the crossover itself, Nordland Rising, was very stupid, but in a very good way. There were a number of characters and things that I didn't quite pick up on because it's about 2,100 issues later than where I've been reading, it was still easy enough to pick up on and really enjoyed it. So yeah, that was good. And now, like even today, as of this day of recording, an issue was popped through my letterbox, and I'm tickled by that idea as someone that every Wednesday still trudges down to the comic shop to pick up a standing order and kind of gleefully goes through that, just like, oh, it's Monday afternoon. Here's an issue of 2000 AD. It's nice.
I did actually read the Nordland Rising crossover because I have a digital subscription to both 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd magazine, and it was delightful. It was delightfully bonkers. I never thought I'd imagine seeing Judge Dredd and Rogue Trooper team up, and I liked the part where where Dredd asks Rogue, "What's your deal?" and Rogue just goes, "Clone soldier," and Judge Dredd, who is also a clone soldier, for a slightly fascist police force, just goes, "Cool."
Oh yeah, it. As someone that really enjoyed the 2015 Secret Wars, where Doctor Doom became God and turned all of reality into his Game of Thrones fanfic, it had that kind of energy. It was like, yeah, we've got all sorts of bonkers shit going on. Let's have fun with it. Let's smash the toys together. Anyway, over to our banned episodes, or just not aired episodes, as one of our pedantic listeners pointed out. The first one of which is Star Trek The Original Series, Season 3, Episode 8, titled The Empath. It aired on the 6th of December 1968, written by Joyce Muscat, directed by John Erman. The UK number one hit was Hugo Montenegro with The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, and the US number one hit was The Supremes with Love Child. Now, we've already discussed The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, so Miles, you had another track to offer up. And what a track.
What a track. Originally, we started implementing that if we're doing a song again, which has been repeated, we're going to choose a track of our own choosing, because we only want to hear Ed Sheeran so many times for this show.
Yeah.
Originally, I was going to go with maybe a soundtrack bit from Ennio Morricone, like The Ecstasy of Gold from The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, or some of his fantastic score work for Once Upon a Time in the West, probably one of the best soundtrack scores ever. Then I was going to choose something with Chris Christopherson, a musician I've not listened to enough of and who passed away yesterday, as of time of recording. Then I thought, fuck it. March of the Sinister Ducks by the Sinister Ducks, one of whom is our old friend, that ever bearded, ever affable Alan Moore. And honestly, it is the best thing he ever wrote.
It's impressive. There's certainly a lot of ducks in it, and yeah, that's Scamp Moore. Sometimes you forget that he has a very playful side to him with all these kind of things. So yeah, it was a fun listen, and definitely one I'd recommend people check out. Yeah, Love Child was, I know, but hadn't remembered at all. And the more I listened to it, it was like, this feels like it either was on a Tarantino soundtrack or just evokes that feeling.
Yeah. For a brief moment, I got this confused with the song Love Shack.
Oh, now if only that was on. That was one I used to do very well in Rock Band.
That one will always remind me of doing bar shifts at the Hilton, because that was always a song that gets played round about 11:30, where everyone who's at the corporate dinner has gotten drunk and dancing, and there's probably there's some half-hearted attempts at extramarital shagging going on in one of the supply rooms. But it is a good song.
Nice. So, Miles, I believe you're telling us what exactly the Empath is about. You have 5 minutes. Now, you could try conveying this by just kind of staring really, really closely at the camera. But that would only really work for me, not for our audience. So I guess do the audio version of that, starting now.
And that was the Empath. Anyway, for those of you who couldn't hear my empathic cries of communication, the Enterprise has arrived at a planet soon to be rendered lifeless in order to evacuate the research team. It's a team they've lost contact with. Oh no. Have these guys implemented the eugenics program? No? Oh good. The Enterprise has to leave our heroes behind due to a solar storm, and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy stay behind to watch the videotapes of the research team. They watch the team be spirited off by a strange noise and a flashing light, a fate which soon befalls our heroes. Credits! Waking up in an empty void deep beneath the soundstage, or above one of those pubs which still has, like, a small theatre above it, Spock detects a humanoid creature that isn't human, and they go off to investigate. The life form is a beautiful woman who does interpretive dance as way of communication. Kirk has learned his lesson, and he's a lot less charming with her than he was with Miri in our last Banned by the Beeb episode. The woman is mute. Kirk believes she might be telepathic, but Spock doesn't believe so. Bone dubs her Gem. Hey, he tells Spock, it's better than just calling her, hey you. Two lumpy-headed aliens, Vians, appear and knock Kirk about a bit and teleport away their phasers. Gem treats Kirk's wounds, taking them from him and onto her. She's an empath! Spock's tricorder detects some nearby alien equipment, and our party of 4 go and investigate, discovering alien technology of strange function. Oh, and they also found the missing scientists. They're dead, in tubes. Their bodies frozen in rictus terror. Oh great, it's going to be one of those situations. Eugenics might have been preferable. They flee to the surface. The storm is ravaging the planet. They make it as far as the research station, where Scotty is there with some guys, but the Vians arrive. It was another test by the Vians. The Vians have decided they only want Kirk as a test subject, subjecting him to embarrassing running in slow motion. Everyone else is good to go, and they teleport them away. On the Enterprise, Scotty and Sulu are watching the solar storm and going, yup, that's a really bad solar storm. I sure hope that Kirk and the others are okay. Don't worry, Mr. Sulu, says Scotty. I'm sure Kirk's got everything under control. Immediate Gilligan cut to Kirk, shirtless and chained from the ceiling, being tortured. Yes, torture. This is some Hellraiser shit right here. The Vians want to test Kirk's strength of will. Gem watching on in heavy eye makeup horror. McCoy and Spock are back where they originally found Gem, and Kirk, tortured to near death, is once more healed by Gem, who suffers silently as the pain she takes from him onto herself, the wounds from his arms from the manacles manifesting on her body. Spock, on the other hand, managed to do a quick sleight of hand roll and managed to sneak one of the Vian weapons, and he just needs to find a way to make it work. The Vians then arrive and tell Kirk that he has to choose one of his men to next be tested. Oh, by the way, Spock might die or go insane. McCoy definitely gonna die. Choose. McCoy promptly knocks Kirk out. Spock declares himself in command and plans and congratulating McCoy for his logical decision. Now Spock can sacrifice himself so Kirk doesn't have to make the choice of having one of his friends die. McCoy is having none of it today, and he just quickly knocks Spock out himself and offers himself to the Vians. McCoy is tortured to within an inch of his life. Spock is able to discover the truth of the Vian device. It is tuned to mental energy. Kirk understands that Gem is an important part of the Vian plan, and Kirk, Spock, and Gem teleport to McCoy, who is dangling from the ceiling on the very point of death, and it's actually very shocking. Getting him down, there's nothing Kirk or Spock can do. All they can do is make McCoy comfortable in his last moments. Gem could help, but they don't dare have her take too much and save Bones, risking her own life. But this is what the Vians want. The Vians tell them that there's a planet in the Minara system on the very edge of supernova, and they can only save one of two races on these planets. Jem's people.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh. Oh dear. Okay, let's start that stopwatch. Right, and go.
Jem's people might be safe, but only if Jem can prove that her people are worthy of survival. And to do that is going to take her sacrificing her life for the greater good. You see, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy have shown that they all have willingness to die for each other, and they want Jem to kind of feel that urge of empathy. Jem goes over to start trying to heal McCoy's wounds and surely die, but Bones, he says, like, pushes her away. It's like, no, you have to stop Jem. I won't let her die, even to save myself. Kirk and Spock are trapped behind a force field, and Spock has worked out how he can clip his way out of the force field to grab a Vian weapon. They do so, and Kirk gives one of his trademark Kirk speeches. The Vians, it seems, have been testing Jem for so long and so scientifically that they've forgot that in pushing Jem to experience emotions, that the Vians have forgotten their own. The Vians go, oh shit, are we the bad guys here? And in order to avoid some very intense litigation from McCoy, save Jem and promptly clip themselves away to save Jem's people. I guess this is truly a victory for the forces of good. Back on the Enterprise, Scotty finds it amusing that the Vians fully embrace scientific logic. Scientific logic when all they needed was good old-fashioned emotions. Hey, Spock, says Kirk, maybe the Vulcans need to hear about this. You want to tell them? I'll get right to it, Spock, probably muttering jackass under his breath and making yet another trip down to human resources on the Enterprise. Third time this week on the Empath.
Wow, that's 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So, yeah, are you much of an empath?
I think I am more than people at my jobs have given me credit for.
Ah.
I try my best. The trouble is, I think I can tell when something is wrong with people. The trouble is, I'm too British to be able to kind of vocally, express. It's like, trying to talk to them about it, and instead kind of going, you're right then. Well, carry on.
Yeah, it is our curse, really. Yeah, I find myself very much in that same position of, well, yes, I can feel a lot internally, but then just, all right. Yeah, certainly not by just staring really, really close to camera, which seemed to be the main way that Jem did any kind of communication.
The actress, I can't remember her name. I do think she did a lot by saying nothing at all. She did have incredibly expressive eyes, which, while the staring to camera did feel a bit off at times, it did help.
That was Catherine Hayes, who looked like she'd been on soap operas for a very long time. And it was that thing where the set is barely present at all. It feels very much like that kind of testing ground from the final episodes for Prisoner. Or, like, I think in my notes I put, oh no, it's another unsolicited 20 minutes of Amdram. And, like, weird performance art, isn't it?
No, that's the next episode we're talking about.
Yeah.
No, okay. This felt very outer limits. Like, it has that kind of vibe, especially with some of the weird camera work. Especially, like, that one really extreme close-up of the one Vian with, like, his Vian mate in the background just kind of looking off to the side.
Yeah, because you first see them a little bit further apart. And I was like, oh my god, is it the testicle head guys from the cage back again? And no, these are different people, but their heads are very much still in that testicle kind of shape. And then with mouths that are all crusty from the makeup.
Do you think that's like the three great races in the Star Trek universe? You have like the nose people who all just have different shaped noses, the forehead people who all have like weird foreheads, and then the testicle people who all look like fucking testicles.
Definitely in the original series.
Yeah.
I'd say. Like, I think TNG may have had some, like, 40s, 50s science fiction, super smart alien giant testicle head people, but it was a lot more an artifact of this era. And yeah, their mouths, I couldn't help but look at the crustiness on the mouths and think, like, oh, is this makeup that's gone awry? Like, was this an intentional choice to have crusty mouth? Or what, really? But yeah, that kind of... Yeah, it's another planet with another godlike being, or pair of them this time. Going, yes, you shall dance for us. You shall do our tests. At least they weren't as much of a... Like, they were bad, but it felt like the Plato stepchildren, godlike beings, were a lot more dicks about it.
Yeah, it's like the moment Kirk just kind of gives his speech over, like, no, you guys are doing this all wrong. The Vians instantly go, you know what? He has a fair point.
Oh, fuck, we're goofed. We've messed it all up. Oh, no. Oh, if the authorities were here or anything, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
Oh, great. We have to quick go before the space filth turn up.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
okay, the bits with Kirk and McCoy, like, being tortured and dangling, like, that part was actually kind of properly visually shocking.
I was surprised, and I was watching it while waiting for the builders to show up and sort out my decking, and realizing, especially because they've had to have me open the front window a few times to get bits of wood through, are they going to park and show up as there's a sweaty, chained William Shatner dangling in a room, just like, hello, welcome, come into this house. I'm not weird.
You know, you're talking about a few episodes ago, you were talking about your mate's mum who had the crush on William Shatner and had a photo of him with, like, the torn shirt. Do you think she also had this one of, like, bondage Kirk?
Oh my god, probably hidden away somewhere. That'd be amazing.
Man, I do kind of want to see, like, the Hellraiser Star Trek crossover where, like, some scientists on a planet find the Le Monchan's box, open it up, let the Cenobites out, and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy just wander into it like fucking idiots.
I mean, the worst thing is Starfleet scientists definitely would fall for that kind of
thing.
Yeah.
No, you know there would be a bunch of Starfleet scientists who would actually volunteer.
Yeah.
As we've established, like, Starfleet is populated by maniacs who either want to blow everything up, make everything go real fast, or in Riker's case, just fuck everything.
Yeah, and there you go. That I'm sure all of them will be sated in some way by Hellraiser. Yeah.
No, I think the Cenobites would just be kind of weirded out because I think the Starfleet people would be too into it.
These people, they're way too chipper.
Like
I'm not quite sure what to do with them. They just keep banging on about hope and flying about, and this is new.
Like, Pinhead would hear, like, one of them say "harder, Daddy." It's like, nope, you ruined it.
Yeah, you made it weird.
We had a good thing going with all the torture and the mutilation and the don't waste tears. That's good suffering, but you made it creepy.
Yeah, so this is apparently one of those extremely rare unsolicited fan submissions that actually made it through into being a thing. Hence the slightly unfamiliar name there with Joyce Muscat.
We're given, like, the Kirk McCoy, like, this is, like, as someone who has who has read and written fan fiction throughout his life, this has hurt comfort thick tropes all over it.
There's a lot of that. Like, I found that out before watching it. I was like, yep, Yeah,
Yep.
I could read. This would be a very popular on AO3.
Yeah. Like this would, I think this has one of my favorite McCoy scenes. Like, actually, this has, I think, several of my favorite McCoy scenes from watching it, which is, we all know McCoy likes to pull out the knockout drugs when someone has to die for the greater good. But I love McCoy just knocks out Kirk, so Kirk doesn't have to make which of his friends the choice, and Spock goes, good idea, and McCoy goes, nah, I'm not finished knocking people out, mate, and then knocks against behind Spock and go, and you too.
Yeah. This I gather was one of DeForest Kelly's favorite episodes, and he gets a lot of fun stuff to do in it.
Yeah, like, and he gets to look proper tortured and beat up when they find him. And the part where like Jem is trying to heal him and he's just pushing away, going, no, I can't let her die even to save my own life.
Yeah. That sequence, apparently with Catherine Hayes looking to camera and getting all of the like boils and things, took something like 8 hours to do because they were doing a bit of makeup.
Oh yeah, that's
applying it rather than fading through the states, which fascinating that they took that long. It must have been arduous as hell. But yeah, she still kept it up.
It's one of those tragedies of color filmmaking. There are some tricks you can't do in color that you could do in black and white. Like famously, I think it's one of the earliest Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. How they do the transformation is that they have the makeup all on with different colors, but they have a series of color filters over the camera. So when the colored filter is removed, the makeup can be seen. Like, whereas one of those really kind of awesome bits of like early special effects camera trickery, where it's just like, take this out, and then suddenly, oh, his face is completely transformed.
Nice. I mean, aside from Jem and the sequences with our core three mucking around, it did feel a bit like, I don't know, like comparing the guys here, Lal and Than, to the Talosians, felt annoyingly fitting. Of like, yep, here we go, we know the drill. Like, the space has got to be full of planets like this. That part of it I was a bit less keen on, but yeah, the hijinks, as everyone was kind of losing it a bit, at least made up for that.
I mean, you can kind of see, like, it doesn't have that same emotional rawness as Miri does. And I feel like that's one of those things that, like, after 3 years, these characters have become more, like, do you know the term Flanderization?
Oh yeah.
And so, like, where in the early episodes of the first season, Kirk can be a bit more emotionally damaged. He can get beaten up a bit. Here it's like, you got full Shatner. You go, Kirk is the square jawed. I can take it. Is that all you got? And you're kind of like, yeah, it's like he's gonna be able to, like, this is Kirk season 3. He's gonna be able to laugh this off.
Of course. That is a bit of a problem. Like, at least McCoy getting injured means you've got a little bit of working around that. I don't know if you've got anything else to say with this. I think
I did like the very kind of the one cut back to the Enterprise with Scotty and Sulu, just kind of like, you think Kirk's fine? Oh yeah, Kirk and the others are probably just like chilling with a beer right now. Cut to Kirk dangling from the ceiling, and it's like, Jesus Christ, that's abrupt.
Actually, yeah, that was very good fun. That kind of like almost overstating how they're definitely completely fine. Like, oh yeah, they're going to be like, they'll be having a great time down there.
Shatner's dopey slow-mo running.
Oh my god. Actually, yeah, Shatner's overacting in slow motion all throughout, because they didn't slow the footage down, but go run really slowly. Like,
Oh, okay. Oh dear God.
oh,
No, just like I thought it was actually slowed down. So no, it's actually
it did not look slowed down at all. Like it looked like it may have been seeing it up on the nice big telly, going, "No, you are not running. You are not like all of these are not slow motion."
so you think this is one of those cases where like, you know, Shatner's kind of, you know, just in his, if you watch the footage again, you can see Shatner go, shit, probably gonna start looking for another gig soon. just like we Plato's Stepchildren, where we have like the real shame on Leonard Nimoy's face. You got the shame of Shatner going, yeah, I'm not. This isn't getting a fourth season.
Yeah, at this point, would they have figured that out?
Mm.
Yeah, the other thing with slow mo is just that feeling of, with the amount they were using it, felt evocative of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. And like, how much shorter would this episode have been without it?
You think at some point, well, as the Shatner's doing the slow mo, he's thinking, "I feel muscular and compact, like roast beef."
He definitely feels that.
I moved the only one way I could by putting one leg in front of the other.
I want Dark Place now narrated by William Shatner. I think it'd work.
Or alternatively, Star Trek narrated by any of the cast of Dark Place.
Yes.
Like
Dean Lerner, Captain's Log.
Stardate 45672. Or just like Matthew Berry just narrating anything.
Always. There's a man who needs to be a captain of a starship.
Oh yeah, either that or have him just like bring back the Teletubbies just so we can have Matthew Berry like narrate the Teletubbies.
Yeah.
Good night, Dixie. Tipsy Whipsy. La la. Po.
And I feel with that we've managed to stray enough. Yeah, we should probably put this on our big list. Yeah, our list of best to worst Star Trek episodes and films goes to 127 places. We have number 1, Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Then down to number 50, we've got the original series' Errand of Mercy, where I realised I liked the kind of space Ren Fair look. At 100, we've got Picard's Impossible Box. And right down at the bottom, we have fairly new entrant, the original series' Plato's Stepchildren, which, again, some similarities to this, with that feeling of, oh no, amateur theatrics. Oh dear, they've rescued a mime in this one. When Emma came down and saw this, I was like, yes, I think they've they've said empath. I think it might be a mime that's here. And that's terrible. No one should give mimes any kind of type.
No one should ever see if mimes are capable of human emotion.
No. If they were, maybe they'd tell us.
You see, you know, if this had been made in England, it would have been a Morris dancer.
Oh, burn it! Right. Anyway, before I start venting my horror
of Morris men.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Oh my God.
So you were saying Miri, like Miri hit in some better places than this, and that's at spot 47 currently.
Let's see. I don't know. Oh God. I don't know. I'm just looking up and down the list.
I
mean, it's good. Like, I don't think it's top 50 good.
It's definitely not.
I mean, okay. Let's have a look. Number 58, TNG's Where Silence Has Lease, which is another episode where our heroes are being tested in matters of life and death by a jerky space face.
Yeah, I felt the weird jerky space face was not as interesting as Q, or at least not as capricious as Q. I don't know, it wasn't quite as horrifying as I'd hoped.
I think that this is better because you do you do see our heroes go through it, and you do
Yeah.
have the fantastic McCoy acting by DeForest Kelly.
Now,
Yep.
I was just going to say, you are quite right. Looking at what's above, that also puts some of our heroes through it. This might actually be a very easy placement. If you're saying you reckon this is better than Where Silence Has Lease, above it in 57 is The Stars at Night with Shax's Second Best Day. And yeah, that's got some nice tension. It's got, despite being a comedy show first and foremost, it still manages to go, here's a problem that we've been setting up for an entire season. And
I think Lower Decks is really good at something I feel like a lot of comedy doesn't do these days, is that making, when it gets dramatic, the drama feels real. Like, it's one of the things I think Ghostbusters 1 definitely does better over, say, the 2016 Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2, is that it's the end of the world, and at every point it feels like we're going into the apocalypse.
yeah.
Or like here, where it's like, in Lower Decks, for the most part, when characters die, unless they're a main cast, they're going to die, and it's not going to be. It's going to be sometimes played. It's not entirely played for jokes. But at the same time, when Shax gets to finally eject the warp core, it is a great moment of catharsis.
Again, it's a glorious payoff there to something that's been going on for a while now.
For what becomes a running joke, just becomes like your emotional finale.
Yeah. So, well, does that mean we put it between 57 and 58?
I think so, because above that is 56, where Buckley turns into a spider, and
Yeah.
Worf definitely killed an Eta guy. And while that's the final season, I feel there is definitely, I think the cast are having much more fun making Genesis than the cast are really having fun at times here. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I feel, it's nice that DeForest Kelly liked doing this episode, and it's nice that he got to be the one that was kind of tormented and also kind of infatuated with this episode's weird space woman. But yeah, it's
like at times Shatner's clearly thinking, I wonder if Chris Plummer can set me up with some Canadian Shakespeare in the Park.
okay. So that's Empath, our new number 58. So, our second episode for night is also Star Trek the Original Series, also from season 3. So, the staff are going to be, the cast are going to be looking a little more tired with it all. This is episode 16, titled Whom Gods Destroy. It aired on the 3rd of January 1969 with a teleplay by Lee Irwin, story by Lee Irwin and Jerry Sohl, and directed by Herb Wallerstein. The UK and US number one hit was The Beatles with Hello Goodbye. We have covered it before, but it is just a fun track. It's one of those things of watching the video for it and going, yeah, at some point I ought to re-listen to some Beatles. While they are not necessarily over or underappreciated, they're pretty much adequately appreciated.
So, I'm sure I've asked this question before. Was your household a Beatles fans or Stones fans?
Beatles mainly.
Okay, yeah. My parents are very much Stones fans, so that my teen rebellion was preferring the Beatles over the Rolling Stones. But my argument to that is like the Beatles did more to kind of very much push what you could do with popular music in a decade than the Rolling Stones have done in their entire career.
Again, some people say they're overrated, and I think they're probably about as rated as they did.
It's like when people complain about Paul McCartney's voice. Like, yeah, like Paul McCartney can't hit those high notes that he could back in the day. But if he wants to sing "Hey Jude" live, let him. He's Paul McCartney. He's paid his dues.
So, I have 5 minutes to recap. Whom gods destroy? And will they destroy me for this?
No, but they'll probably destroy Jeff.
Oh, poor Jeff.
But Jeff does. Jeff knows what he's done.
True.
Right. Okay. Got it. Jeff.
Is this because after having Sean on the podcast, we can't just default to mocking Sean?
No. And I don't know many Jeffs anymore, so it might be less litigious this way.
Ah, fair enough.
All right. And will gods destroy Jeff? We'll find out and engage.
So, good news. The Federation's got a cure for mental illness. Personally, I'm thrilled. That's going to save me a lot of money on sertraline. Anyway, this time they're going to the one remaining asylum, Elba 2, to give it a bit of a go, see what happens. And on there, Dr. Donald Corey is chuffed about having company. He jokes about shutting down their ability to leave, at least until they've had dinner. He also offers to show off his most recent acquisition here, one Garth of Izar, who Kirk really looked up to before his unspecified malady. Also, there's Marta and Orion, who's played by Batgirl, Yvonne Craig. Garth isn't in his cell, though. Instead, there's a really, battered and upset-looking Dr. Corey. And the Dr. Corey that's with Kirk and Spock, that's actually Garth of Izar, and now he's opened all the cells. It's time for a prison break. Hooray! So, between credits, Spock is knocked out and dragged off. Kirk is put in a prison with Dr. Corey. Garth now insists on being called Lord Garth, formerly of Izar, Master of the Universe. Okay, great. He-Man fan? Who knows? Kirk gets shouted down with a very good silence! Garth has destroyed the medicine and wants revenge on the Q who mutinied when he tried to take everything over. He has a really powerful explosive he's somehow made as well, and he's learnt how to shapeshift. This is all a bit weird, but fine. Garth pretends to be Kirk, calls up to Scotty to get beamed back onto the Enterprise, and is asked to solve the chess problem. Garth has no idea what to say, pretends like, oh no, this was just a test, well done, good work, and the moment the radio's off, he has a massive tantrum. Garth then holds a party with his prisoners, current prisoners, and the now escaped prisoners. The entertainment's a bit lacking, with an Andorian and Tellarite doing a whole wheelbarrow act around the table.
It's Amdram all the way down. We're never going to
this
escape.
Is worse than that. This is your drunk mates from work around the pub. Marta is interested in Kirk, and Garth pretending not to be bothered about it. Kirk and Spock have a bit of stage whispering, while Marta performs Shakespeare, pretending that it's her own poetry. Garth then insists that she dances, and Spock reckons her performance is mid. Garth offers Marta to Kirk and mentions that his shape-shifting mentors didn't appreciate him offering them a galaxy, and maybe the Federation should get into the conquering business. That's where they're falling down these days. When Kirk and Spock's coexistence is questioned, Kirk says, no, me and Spock, we're bros. And Spock says, it's not technically true, but yes, fine. Garth tries to subtly ask about chess moves, like, oh, how would you do this? Kirk quickly counters by going, oh, tons of ways. Marta then offers herself to Kirk, and no, he's not having any of it yet. Garth snaps his fingers and brings in a therapy chair, modded to do tortures. Oh no, is he going to put Kirk in? No, he's going to put Dr. Corey in it. A man, he's had a real bad day. Scotty gets really tense because there's been no response from the planet, and he's not sure what to do next, especially with that whole testing thing. Marta still wants a bit of a crack at Kirk and gets him alone for a drink. She doesn't care about this whole chess move thing, just wants him spared because she kind of fancies him. This obviously turns out to be a lie when she tries stabbing him instead. Spock shows up, nerve pinches her, and it's escape time! As long as Kirk says the code. the chess one. Oh no. This is a trick, isn't it? Yep. Kirk tells Spock to give the chess move himself, and of course he can't, because that's Garth. They were trying to play him for a sap. But no, Kirk has a bit of a go at Garth, going, I used to be somebody. I used to respect you. You were a role model. And Garth starts yelling again. Kirk takes this opportunity to dive for a button, gets shot and knocked out. When Kirk wakes up, Garth's now having a coronation. Hooray! He'll be the king, Martha will be the queen, and Kirk will be their crown prince, which makes the whole attempted seduction scene seem awfully weird.
All right. Okay, so before I set a timer to get you back to like recapping the rest of the episode, do you think that Wayne's World ruined the name Garth, or is it just a name you don't give like your super cool like maniac who used to be like the bestest space captain?
See, now a wise person, a Legion of Superheroes fan, immediately think of Garth Rand's Lightning Lad when I hear the name Garth. So I'm fine with it as a space name. But yeah, I get how most people would think of the nerd Garth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
not an impressive image.
No, at least he wasn't called Karate Kid of Izar.
Ugh. Fucking Karate Kid, one of the worst Legionnaires. Anyway, before the Legion ranting starts,
quick question: who was the member of the Legion of Superheroes who was the angry African American on the space planet?
What, Tyrock?
Yes.
What about the Space Brigadoon that he came from to go? Yeah, this is why we've not seen black people until now, and this planet goes in and out of reality every few years. Are you going to accept that as a reason? There were some missteps with the Legion of Superheroes. I'm not saying it's perfect. It's just nearly perfect. Anyway, start that timer. Back to the coronation.
Back to the coronation!
Hooray! Yeah, so, coronation time. There's a crown and everything. Kirk, however, is not appreciative of any of this. Was this just to try and win him over and go, now you're crown prince, give me that code? It doesn't work. There's some mild applause and Kirk is sent away. He takes the opportunity to dive for the controls again and is hit again. Garth shows off some of his volatile explosive, first in a kind of multicoloured bottle that looks like he's got a bunch of nerds or something, and is shaking them around. Then he puts a little bit into some jewellery that Marta has, sends her out to the surface and blows her up. That's a bit extreme. The Enterprise is startled by the massive explosion that happens and decides to go round the back, target a weak spot in the force field, and try and get in that way. Spock pretends to be sleeping and doesn't just nerve pinch the underlings, double nerve pinch. Oh yeah! Both of them go down right away. Lovely. He runs in to see Kirk and Garth, but the problem is Garth has the security cameras. He saw this and shapeshifts into Kirk. Oh dear. They both look like Kirk. Who should Spock shoot? One of the Kirk says to shoot them both, and Garth wouldn't do that, so Spock shoots the correct one, and they call all of this in. The patient's getting injected with some of the insane begone, and when Garth wakes up, he introduces himself properly. He's spaced out, but he's going to be alright. Spock says, oh yeah, I would have taken the right shot anyway, even if you didn't say that. He basically assumed that Kirk would be the shitter fighter of them both. And Kirk says, yeah, good work getting hit on the head. I assume you intended that too, you big dork. Truly, they are like brothers after all. The end.
2 minutes and 9 seconds. I forgot about the ending.
So passive aggressive. I loved it.
Your shit, really? Nuh-uh. Your shit. You bumhead. Pointy-eared bumhead.
Yeah, so
So,
could have mature, especially for people in charge of a spaceship.
so Charlie, all mental illness is the same, and no, it's not as if you need like therapy or like particular drugs to affect your brain chemistry in any kind of way. Just one regular injection of insane be gone, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or any trauma or the devastating events that might have occurred, mental illness.
Now, they said these were like the 15 most incurably insane people. I assume a lot of the regular stuff they've kind of not necessarily got rid of, but learned how to mitigate. The same way you get cybernetics and all that, of going, okay, you've got someone that's bipolar. Oddly enough, medicine is not only free, but good enough to manage that. The same way that, again, the Legion of Superheroes, Tom Calor, Starboy, was bipolar, and in the 31st century, it was easily dealt with as on a regular basis. But when he was sent back in time for present day in the Justice Society, he started acting a bit like Jeff Johns tried to write someone who's bipolar and really did not nail the landing or know much about mental illness. He just went a bit kind of Deadpool but sadder. I think this is one of those ones where it's a slightly questionable premise, but also you can probably no prize it into going.
I'm sure.
Well, if we think of these as like these the proper Joker level kind of people, because I was watching this and thinking, what the fuck is Garth's like diagnosis here? Is he just got random shouty problem?
Like I assumed it was basically he went like megalomaniacal
Hmm.
and went insane. Especially since, I'll be honest, the most distracting thing of this episode. It's his different colored space boots.
I didn't even notice the different colors.
Every time he was just walking, I'm like, you're wearing the wrong boots, mate.
Wow. Oh, I'm gonna have to find a picture of those boots now.
Although, like, his band of like the 15 most craziest people in the Federation look like someone's really bad like glam band. Like one of those bands where each character has like their own persona and identity.
Yeah, none of them have gone for any kind of like unity in their look.
No,
they're performing upstairs at a really shitty pub. Like the Andorian and the Tellarite. It was cool seeing an Andorian and a Tellarite, but also they were just quietly following them around and doing minion work.
And like it didn't help that like I think that the Andorian has Walter Koenig's wig from like the beginning of season 2, like the really bad one.
Yeah, it's not a good look. And then of course you've got Batgirl in it as well, who is, I assume, just a compulsive liar with a lot of things. Like, oddly enough, for the woman that played Batgirl, there was a lot of Harley Quinn kind of energy with a lot of her in this. But yeah, it was always nice seeing Yvonne Craig. But yeah, like, again, one of the most incurably insane people in all of the galaxy. Somehow.
Maybe it was just because like she kept claiming to have written Shakespeare.
Yeah. Which, maybe if you're sharing a place with a bunch of other people that are from different planets, don't know what Shakespeare's about, and you're like, I've found this. Humans did it, and as long as they're not around, I can pass this off as my own.
See, maybe she should have written at the top of her script for Hamlet, original OC, do not steal.
Definitely. Yeah, so it's an odd subject for them to deal with in this.
Out of the 3 episodes, which were initially like banned by the Beeb, this feels like, apart from the incredibly shocking exploding of Yvonne Craig, this is the one where I'm like, I don't get it. Miri, you have like the very creepy Kirk macking on Miri vibes. In Plato's Stepchildren, you have the Amdram. let's be honest, it's the Amdram. In the Empath, it is the freaky Hellraiser shenanigans with chains. Here I'm like, no, I don't get it. Like these people, like these these people were like one flew over the cuckoo's nest. Like attempt to make these crazy people look actually like they're legitimately unwell.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think, is it just the existence of mental illness? Because the quote was, because they all deal most unpleasantly with the already unpleasant subjects of madness, torture, sadism, and disease. And like we saw some disease with Miri. We saw a bit of the torture and the sadism both in the Empath and Plato's stepchildren. I guess this is the madness.
I mean, okay, it is 60s and 70s England, so
Yeah.
it's that point you kind of have to kind of just sigh and go, yeah, times were different. Attitudes towards mental illness were a lot. I mean, like they're slightly better now, but still not. I mean, like yeah, they're like a light year better than they were back in the 60s and 70s, but we're still not there yet. Mental health is still, if mental health were treated seriously, it would be easy to go, I can't do today at your job.
Yeah.
Because of like my mental health is in the toilet.
Yeah. And I think again it's got a bit better with that, but yeah, it can be fairly tricky, hence, yeah. I think where we've both been at multiple times with our brains, I know mine can be a traitor sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, luckily not to the level where I don't stop shouting and try to conquer everything. Just some things.
Do you do a wheelbarrow though?
No. Sadly, I've not really got the dexterity for it, and I wouldn't wish anyone having to lift any part of me, really. No, although I say I haven't claimed myself master of the universe. When I was in charge of the local NaNoWriMo community, I did have a crown made at one point. So, I guess there's still some of that in there.
When I was a shift supervisor at Starbucks, I did declare myself master of the universe, or God, or just scream power, unlimited power on a regular basis.
So it is easy for that kind of thing to happen, I guess.
Yeah, give anyone any kind of look. I have dealt with enough dipshit Starbucks supervisors who were given a position and immediately thought they were better people because they agreed to do more work for not enough extra pay.
Yeah, so I found, obviously, Yvonne Craig was entertaining in this. Steve Inhat, who passed away not too long after this, I think in the 70s. He was very good fun as Garth.
Yeah, like he is definitely...
Yeah, 72, 3 years later.
Damn, like, as shouty madmen in science fiction go, he definitely brings a good level of energy.
Yeah, he's all in on this. Like, you don't go, oh no, this is someone tiredly going, yeah, I guess I'm mad or whatever. This is someone that's like, yeah,
I am Doolally, me.
I am the Jokerman.
Yeah, like this is good. This does have, I think this is iconic with the shoot us both way of discovering which one is the evil doppelganger.
Yeah, see, I knew that idea, but I didn't know it was from this. I think from Buffy, and a Xanderline was from that was the main place that my memory of all that came from. But yeah, this is it.
And thus, of course, puts it on like number 6 on the big list because of its impact on pop culture.
Obviously, yeah, it's entertaining. See, I'm just trying to have a look now at our other band episodes. Mira's 47, we've got the Empath at 58. Do you reckon better or worse than the Empath?
I would say they're both kind of equal. Like
Yeah,
some really good acting chops. The trouble is where you have in the Empath a lot of walking around an empty black stage.
Mm.
You do have a lot of Kirk and Spock are brought out of the room and then taken back to the room. Like if this were a John Pertwee 7-part Doctor Who story, this would be what Joe Grant would probably be doing for episodes 3 through 5. Because of the padding.
It did feel like, right, put them back, bring them out. We've got a feast now. You weren't expecting that, were you?
We got a coronation. I mean, I was half expecting for the coronation because Spock wasn't present. They were almost going to threaten to eat Spock.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like the history of the Federation, as kind of presented here by Garth, that the Federation being this utopian society is only something relatively recent. With like the idea, like Kirk says, "Oh yes, I was a soldier, but now I'm an explorer, and it's because of your actions that allow me and Spock to be like brothers." And the Spock replies with, "Citation needed."
Yeah. Only figuratively. You're not one of my many undisclosed siblings. I don't know. We see some of that in Star Trek Beyond, I think it was, of like hints for Federation wasn't always this utopian thing. And hell, Enterprise has its space war on terror and a lot of attitudes which still feel very kind of, well, we're gonna have to go off and be cowboys somewhere and
do a war crime.
Exactly, occasionally do a war crime.
I mean, that's next episode.
I just realised, is Garth of Izar going to be like? Should he be in Strange New Worlds pre the madness?
I mean, possibly.
Like, if we're saying this is pretty comparable to the Empath, I kind of feel like I prefer the people in this, even the Andorian and the Tellarite, just for the look of them, compared to the testicle head, crusty mouth guys.
I mean, at least we get like some nice Yvonne Craig dancing by a green space woman, and that's definitely puts it above the Empath. Sorry, DeForest Kelley, who had very little to do this episode.
Yes, yeah, sadly, yeah. Well, same with the crew on the ship. Scotty once again got to stand around going, "Oh, what's going on here?" But yeah, so that will mean that this is now the new number 58. Spot that has changed over a few times, almost as many as quick as Tory PMs. Oh, God. Right. Finally, we have a fifth entry here. As most of the time, people talk about banned episodes, and it is just these four from the original series. But there was one from the Next Generation. Yes, we are talking about Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 12, titled The High Ground. It aired on the 29th of January 1990, written by Melinda M. Snodgrass and directed by Gabrielle Beaumont. The UK number one hit was Kylie Minogue with Tears on My Pillow, a cover of a song originally by Little Anthony and the Imperials, but frankly, everyone seems to have done it. And the US with Michael Bolton, How Am I Supposed to Love Without You, which is another one of those music videos that makes it feel like either he and or the woman in the video is actually a ghost. Like so many Meatloaf songs before it.
Yeah. I didn't watch the music videos for these ones. I just listened to them on the way home from the coffee shop this morning. Kylie never seemed to break over into the US. I think a lot of people over here would know her more from her guest star in Doctor Who.
I thought you were going to say in that brilliant work of comedy, Street Fighter the movie.
Oh God, no! I forgot about Street Fighter the movie. Oh no, you probably Street Fighter the movie, but mostly the Voyage of the Damned. Described by described by one Doctor Who essayist as the neoliberal nadir of Russell T Davies' original run.
Wow.
And honestly, I can kind of see it in an episode which is basically the Poseidon Adventure, where all the non-conventionally attractive people die, but we had to feel really sad about Kylie Minogue's teleport space ghost.
Yeah, of course.
And
see, for me, I didn't really get into Kylie for a long time. I think it was probably
did you have a Neighbours phase?
No. Despite being a student, I did not do Neighbours.
Man, I had a brief Neighbours phase when I was like 15.
I
think the first time Kyle Kennedy cheated on his wife.
Okay, yeah, God, for me it was from the aughts that I was enjoying her music. Prior to that, of course, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Where the Wild Roses Grow. Because of course, my musical taste goes.
Of course,
there. Yeah. But yeah, so we have this, and Miles, you have 5. Oh,
do we want to bring up why this one was banned before or after my recap?
Dealer's choice.
I'm gonna flip a coin. All right. Heads before, tails after. Heads.
Okay.
Island. It's about Island.
There we go.
In case, for our American listeners, the United Kingdom controls Northern Ireland. This is a sticking subject with a lot of Irish nationals, including the IRA, the Irish Revolutionary Army, which would do quite a bit of terrorist action for a good few decades, in Ireland and on the mainland. Particularly for Charlie and me, both being Brightonians, there was an attempt on Thatcher at the Tory party conference in, I think, 83 or 84.
Yeah, and they fucked that one up.
Ironically, the hotel next to the one where I used to work, which would host the Labour Party conferences.
It was the 12th of October, 1984.
Think about that as we go into this episode, and if you wanted to think about anything that's going on politically around the world as you listen to this episode at any time, let's be honest, we'll
do the recap and then break into small groups and discuss the themes.
And what would you have done in this situation if it had happened to you?
Well, we'll find out what happens when it happens to the crew of the Next Generation, starting now.
The Enterprise is bringing medical supplies to the planet Rusia 2. The planet has had a civil war stretching back decades with a revolutionary group called the Enstarter. They believe that their homeland is occupied by the Russian government illegally and demand independence. The Enterprise can't help because of the Prime Directive, convenient, but they can beam down medical supplies. In a cafe where Worf and Dr. Crusher are hanging out, a bomb goes off. People are wounded. Crusher runs to help. Picard demands that she beams back. Crusher refuses to leave. Riker won't meet her in the transporter room when she gets beamed up. Picard goes, "Okay, you can save one Russian." As Beverly Crusher is helping, an Enstarter terrorist flashes out of nowhere, holding a gun from the TV show V, and then abducts Crusher. The Enterprise can't track Beverly Crusher, and Picard wonders why they would take Beverly. Worf thinks that she was the intended target because because kidnapping a Federation citizen and officer, that now the Federation is involved in the conflict between the Russians and the Anasta. In a secret underground lair, Crusher is brought towards Kyril Flynn, who is the leader. Flynn offers Crusher food and water, but she refuses. Picard has to explain to Wesley that Crusher's abductors may be holding her as a bargaining chip in their fight for independence. What's terrorism, Daddy Picard? Wesley asks, and Picard is like, hum, tum, 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 hum, 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 hum. Picard doesn't care about the kidnapper's motives as long as he gets Crusher back, because that might involve some actual, thinking. Riker's going down to help Alexander Devos, who is the help of Russian security. Wes wants to go down and help, but Picard needs his office moved 2 feet to the left, and so Wes has to stay and help. Oh, and also, you can help figure out how to able to teleport in and out instantaneously without us tracking them. Troy explains that Wesley needs Picard's strength to go, might need Picard's strength to rely on, but Picard's response that history lessons is filled that strength may be useless when faced with terrorism. Riker and Picard meet with Devos. Devos is the head of the police force, and she describes the Anasta separatists as animals and fanatics who act in ways beyond their ability to predict. The Enterprise gets permission to study the devices that the Anasta left behind, and Devos hopefully helps that Federation weaponry can help turn the tide. And because, no, we're not giving weapons, Devos reluctantly understands. Picard returns to the Enterprise, leaving Riker behind to coordinate the rescue attempt with a woman who at no point is he going to try and have sex with. Probably good idea there, Riker.
Mm-hmm.
Devos tells Riker that her history with this group leaves us little room for optimism where Beverly is concerned. Meanwhile, Finn tells Crusher that he needs her help. Apparently, their advanced teleport technology, what they refer to as a matter inverter, is causing a sickness amongst his followers. It's killing them, but it's giving them an edge over the Russian forces by being able to teleport in and out instantaneously towards any location. Meanwhile, at police headquarters, Riker is looking over a list of supposed Ansata members. Devos is like, no, that's there's only about 200 members in the organization, but there are actually at least 5,000 sympathizers who supply them with weapons, information, participate in general strikes, pro-independence demonstrations, and riots. 70 years ago, the Anastan people asked for self-determination, to which the Russian government went no, which in turn gave them the cause needed for an armed conflict. Now they use it as an excuse for more violence. Because if a country is unfairly ruled by another power without fair taxation or representation, then they just have to like it and at no point actively try and, fight for their freedom. Devos used to be a less passionate centrist about the whole thing until a terrorist attack on a shuttle school bus killed 60 school children. And even though the Anasta claimed that, this was a mistake, we're after the police, she is zero tolerance. She just wants this movement crushed.
Oh. Speaking of crushed, those 5 minutes have flown by. So, let's pick back up and see what we can do about this whole terrorism situation, starting now.
In engineering, Data and Wesley are looking over the design. This is amazing, but it causes faint nuclear vibrations, which could indicate subspace transmissions. Wesley thinks back, wait, hang on, the Elway theorem, not John Elway, the famed American football player, but the Elway theorem, and is able that they're using a form of interstitial travel, and they're using a modified subspace echogram, which we can track now. It's unfortunately using this kind of form of transport is highly fatal. Picard mentions that they may be dealing with irrational people, and Data goes, why does terrorism actually kind of work when people actually kind of fight for Irish unification in 2024? And Picard goes, just pulls in his collar and goes, well, actually, terrorism is bad, okay. Meanwhile, back on the planet, the authorities are rounding up suspected Anasta sympathizers and terrorists. Riker is showing remorse for both sides. He watches small children being handcuffed and detained and treated like prisoners. Like, this is no way for these people to be treated. And Devos goes, look, my predecessor was a lot harsher about this, and like a lot of these people, if he had done it, would just disappear. I'm not just randomly killing them in Gulag, so this is all okay. Everything I'm doing is okay. Finn is drawing creepy pictures of Crusher, and meanwhile, Crusher and he are kind of arguing over ideals. Finn tries to paint himself like George Washington on Earth, and he's trying to depict his struggle as similar to the American Revolution and its struggle for freedom or independence. Crusher goes, nuh-uh, Washington was a military general, not a terrorist, and he's killing innocent people. And like, he has been doing this for so long, he's become blind to his immorality. And Finn is like, yeah, but a terrorist is only a terrorist and not a general. Because of a matter of subjective interpretation, this will be the last time the American Revolution is mentioned. Because if you bring up the American Revolution in an American-made show written and crewed by Americans, then you might actually have to start thinking about these wider political issues with a little more nuance than this show is going. Finn is like, yeah, how many innocent lives were lost because of the Federation? Because the Federation, even though they're claiming to be impartial, they're still giving supplies to the Russians. They're still helping the Russians instead of actually trying to broker a peace. Riker's, meanwhile, is just getting tired of all this and grabs one of the people who was at the bombings and says, hey, the Federation will discuss terms for Crusher's release. Like, you want to talk? Let's talk. Devos says they shouldn't do this, but she'll play Riker's way. She gets irate at Riker because he's like, hey, what do you want? And Devos just wants, like, it all go back to how it used to be with no fear or paranoia. She basically doesn't want to feel bad about her political beliefs in danger. She basically just wants centrism. Meanwhile, Data has like worked it out, how they're tracked, and people from the Anastas teleport onto the Enterprise and start shooting people, and they're gonna blow up the Enterprise and make the Federation pay attention. They plant a bomb on the warp core. Geordi does some really fancy jumping around and is able to transport the bomb off the ship by putting his comm badge and teleporting the comm badge and the bomb into space. Troy is like surprised that this might have happened for some reason. More people teleport onto the bridge. Picard immediately becomes Action JL from the Picard series and jumps in and starts punching people and gets transported back to the terrorist base. Finn is like, yeah, we've been pleading for 70 years, and you've done nothing. Nothing is being done. We have no choice but to be doing this. He transports back onto the bridge and says, hey, what I want is a Federation blockade of this planet. No resources go in. No resources go out. And I want this to enforce a sit-down with the Russian government so we can finally get some diplomatic action done and maybe sort this out peacefully. To which Riker and Devos is like, no. We're gonna track you back to the base and we're gonna engage in a police action. Crusher is worried about Wesley. Picard is like, don't worry, Wesley's fine. The moment the shooting started, he just took cover. I'm sure he's fine. Oh, by the way, Worf got shot. But don't worry, I'm sure Crusher is fine. There is some more arguing over the morality of Finn's actions, and eventually Riker and Devos and a security team beam down with Worf, just start knocking people out. They manage to overpower most of the Ashton nationalists. Finn is shot in the back just as he's about to shoot Picard. And Beverly persuades a young Ashton sympathizer who is a little boy to put down his gun. And the little boy puts down his gun, and Crusher goes, maybe because he put down his gun, we can start, sorting out peace. Because something. Crusher and Picard are taken back to the Enterprise. Was she able to solve the illness which is killing the people using their teleportation device? We don't know. Picard's like, right, let's get the fuck out of here before our hands get any more dirtied by our just simply being here, because we would no longer have the high ground.
Oof. That's 6 minutes and 55 seconds. My word. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was watching this yesterday before recording. I was watching it with my wife, Reanna. Reanna just turned to me and said, gosh, this has aged well. This isn't politically relevant to today's political events in politics.
Yeah, God. Listening to especially the podcast Cool People Who Did Cool Stuff, where you end up seeing a lot of unions or, resistance fighters or anything like that, and the amount of actions born of necessity, of desperation, of going, if these people are being pushed back and told that they're not people or anything like that, like, yeah, you are going to push people to desperate actions.
Charlie, I have a question for you.
Is it about the kind of rogue stripe that all the guys had?
No, God,
Damn
no.
it, I was hoping it would be about that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Is Magneto right?
Magneto, I believe another much better podcast once said Magneto made some valid points.
Yes.
And, ultimately, things like, I think in X-Men Red, where after he got his heart punched out for a bit, and saying to Storm, like reminding people that tolerance and acceptance aren't the same thing, really. And yeah, unfortunately, someone like Magneto is someone who's had some of the worst of mankind's atrocities visited on him and is going to act accordingly. Doesn't always make him right,
No.
getting half his face and wanting to flip the earth upside down. I know that was Zorn, but it was a very Magneto thing.
It was written as intended to be Magneto, and it was just retconned to be Zorn off his head on kick, thinking he's Magneto.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so many of these things, it is difficult in a cape comic about superhero stuff. Going, well, a lot of the time, depending on the writers, yes, he is. But also, a lot of writers also want him to be a big cackling villain as well. And that makes a beautifully complex character. Unfortunately, no one here is beautifully complex, but the situation also doesn't feel quite that complex,
I have got to say, the actor Richard Cox, who plays Kirill Finn, very Irish name, was it me? Or was he just trying to do this Jack Nicholson-like drawl? Which made him sound kind of like, which probably tried to he hoped would make him sound as like kind of cool, as dangerous and unpredictable as Jack Nicholson, but instead just made him sound incredibly disaffected by everything that was going on around him.
Yeah, he definitely felt like he wanted to be kind of the bad boy kind of thing, but he doesn't have the look of an anti-hero. He has the look of like a love interest in Charmed, a slightly edgy one, but
he had the look of the front man of a new wave 80s band with like the white stripe in the hair,
which does seem to be a fairly common thing there. Yeah, like he was all right at points, but there was definitely that kind of that attempt to edge. Like Alexander DeVos was interesting as a character, but not someone like she felt so antagonist coded through all of this. It was incredible to go, so are you saying she's right? Like,
yeah.
She wants to go back to when she didn't have to think about all these people being oppressed.
Yeah,
It's inconvenient. It gives her the sads.
like
Oh no.
she's definitely like the centrist in all of this, and as we've seen from politics, the centrist is just like, yeah, I think both sides have valid opinions, but the left is just very loud about them, and the left wants stuff done which would affect me personally, so I have to vote for these increasingly authoritarian right-wing political figures.
Yeah.
Can't we just get along?
God, there was such a mid-aughts American TV kind of feeling to her, of so much of that. No, the terrorists will win if we don't torture all of them, and I'm not really torturing them as badly as my predecessor was torturing them, but I am gonna torture them.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling she felt barely a moment away from Jack Bowering someone.
And it's just like, God, this is one of those episodes where it's not fun to talk about.
No,
everything we have to talk about is actual serious shit. It's like, I guess originally in the intended script, Melinda Snodgrass wanted to play up the American Revolutionary aspect at angles, and she was told by the producer or the script editors to kind of make it more like the IRA, which is a really, really bad idea, because apart from they briefly bring up Washington and how Washington could be seen as the terrorist, but it's if you keep bringing up the American Revolution, you kind of have to go, yeah, he might have Finn and Ian Aston's might have a valid point for self-determination and freedom, and the fact that the idea is, oh no, they asked for freedom and were told no, and they responded with going, right, fine, civil unrest then, and that is treated at all times as they were the bad guys,
just for worst thing,
for wanting their country back and wanting freedom of action and whatever.
Well, yeah, and that attitude of going, so the Federation are coming along. These people aren't part of the Federation; they're not involved, but they need some medical aid and stuff. But now you're getting involved with something because you're not aiding the resistance fights. You're not aiding, you're only aiding one side in this, which means you are taking a side.
You're taking a side, even through an action, the people you're giving the aid to, even if it's medical aid, you're still aiding the people who are in charge, who are enforcing the law, and as we've seen and inferred, enforce the law pretty brutally.
Yeah.
Even if Devos is not doing the bad policing, she's still endorsing and enforcing a system which keeps people under a state of illegal occupation.
Yeah.
And yet they're meant to be presented as the good ones because she just wants everything back to how it was. And I think I read notes where Ron Moore was saying, oh, this is terrible, this is our pro-terrorism episode. It's not really. Because, Finn is making valid points, but at no point is Finn being presented as being in the right, because the actor is portraying Mr. Dis as a disaffected psychopath.
Well, any time that it gets close to providing any kind of sympathy for him and his cause, it pulls back.
Yeah.
And that seems pretty constant. Both with Moore and some of the other regular writers from this time, with Brannon Braga and Michael Piller, they're yeah, big problem was we weren't saying anything with this. We didn't do anything with the topic as much as it was originally presented to be an action thing. To go, yeah, we need some action, do terrorism. And then they've evidently picked a bad topic to try and make an action episode.
It's because let's be honest, Irish Americans don't have the best history. Groups like the No Raid group, who collected money for the IRA, saying it's only for medical supplies, but who knows how deep the bookkeeping goes. Or let's be honest, England's own involvement in the affairs of other countries and their rule and control of other countries. It's you've got an episode where essentially the Federation is implicit and complicit in an imperialism, and their response is like, no, we're just doing medical supplies, let's get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the points where like Picard is just trying to go, it's a lot more complicated than that, Data, when Data goes, but doesn't this show that this kind of works? With that incredibly memed, with the image which is now a meme of the Irish reunification of 2024, which you've got 3 months, guys, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured this should be done at some point in 2024, just for the synergy of it. But, best of luck with that.
In a way, I wish this made me as angry as Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach. But I can't help but watch this, but going like, man, this has aged well.
Yeah. I mean, with that, looking at our list, are we looking at the bad section? Is it just a nothing, kind of like, Caretaker or Strange New World? Or are we talking bad, like mathematically perfect redemption level?
I would say that this is pretty bad because like it's trying to have a discussion about topics and serious themes, but I would honestly say it pulls punches which make the characters look bad.
Yeah, and the Federation look bad.
Have I spoken about the Rosa Parks episode of Doctor Who and how it really ruins Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor really early on?
God, I think possibly when we were going through that era. But yeah, it's so difficult when you go like, oh yeah, you aren't equipped to really handle this not well, and especially when it's like, oh yeah, you need to do nothing. You need to not act and not do good because this bad thing, like these injustices need to take place to then get fixed themselves.
One person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. And as easy as it would be to go, all terrorists are bad. It's like are these people cackling Cobra-like supervillains? Or are these people nationalists who have been pushed to a point where they have been unheard for so long that their only last course of action is going, if we can't do this peacefully, then we'll have to do this at the point of a gun, which is how America became the United States of America. And they have to drop, they bring up Washington, but have to drop him really quickly, because if you keep going with the America analogy, then your American show then has to go, no, but they're morally justified in doing so, because that's how America became these United States. A land because of taxation without representation is a morally bad thing, which is great unless I want to be able to vote in the coming election. But despite the fact that I am a taxpayer, and boy do I pay taxes, the fact that I'm a green card holder invalidates me from having any kind of political say in the country where I live, the country where my wife lives, the country where I am living for the foreseeable future, because my cats are here, my wife is here, my friend group and my job and my finances are here, but because I don't have the 2+ grand to put up for citizenship, I get no say in how this country is run, yet I'm paying into how this country is run. Taxation without representation might be a sticking point for me right now, as it always is, because as I keep saying, that was the reason you kicked my guys out.
Wow. So, on that note, I'm looking near the bottom of the list for the high ground. Mathematically perfect redemption is pretty much where it goes from the meh to the oh, this bad.
This is, it's not as morally reprehensible a piece of writing as Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach, because you have the child death machine, and Pike's just like, yeah, we're just kind of upset about this. where I feel even in the episode itself, our characters are just kind of struggling to kind of say anything, which then can't be misconstrued as Star Trek endorses terrorism, which would be like if this episode. Okay, first of all, whenever you have the right-wing chuds complaining about, oh, they couldn't do Star Trek properly today, it's because like they have non-white, non-straight characters and actors in the show. It's never, because like you could never write the high ground today and have it put out as it was in the 1990s as it was today, not in our current political climate for the last 24 years.
Wow. Yeah.
There was some nice action though. Like Geordi did get to leap behind a door, and Patrick Stewart did get to leap. He leapt in and punched the guy. I'm like, whoa, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that was. I was watching it with Emma last night, and it was JL's
quick
here.
Question.
JL's in the room.
I asked, we did mention like how my wife, the American, for this episode. What did Emma think? Or are we under contract never to find out what her opinions are on this podcast, because opinions might lead to endorsement?
I think a lot of it was that the Federation was a bit rubbish for getting involved with this.
Because like the thing is, like when Finn says, "Hey, we want a blockade enforced, so we can actually sit down and hash out like a diplomatic solution," and my response was like, "What a good idea!" Like
maybe like that would be good.
Like, it's very clear that he wants to kind of achieve peace, and Devos, who is basically our viewpoint character for the Russians, is like, nah, I just want to shoot him.
I guess the pilot of Strange New Worlds isn't a million miles away from this.
No.
But in a way where they actually fix it.
Yeah. But even then, we're not just... with Strange New Worlds, the nature of the conflict is never really specified. We never see like the in-depth of this is why these two nations are about to go to war.
Well, and maybe, much like you brought up Magneto earlier in the X-Men and the mutant metaphor, part of the power of it is its glorious vagueness.
Yeah.
That people can read all manner of things rather than going, we were doing the American War for Independence, but like we're going to do Ireland instead. So don't just we're 1-for-1 lifting this thing.
Don't be American about this and not try and take into account that like the Troubles were incessantly bloody in Ireland, and like I grew up with car bomb threat. Like we grew up in a time of like people in America seem to think that terrorism only started happening in the West with 9/11. And I'm like, no, we had like regular IRA car bomb bomb threats phoned in on a regular basis throughout the 90s. There was like, as we said, the assassination attempt on Thatcher in the 80s. He had one job, guys. It's like, no, this stuff happens. It's just how deep is either your complacency or your complicity. And I feel this is very much unique. This is very much the Enterprise crew is made complicit by their complacency, because this doesn't end with Picard's speech saying maybe there is a better way.
Yeah. Maybe
we should get in touch with the Federation and try and maybe actually lean on the Russians to try and give you a fair chance. It is right. Crusher, you hug Wesley, and Wesley, as soon as your mom lets go, get us the fuck out of here. And that is the attitude to how this episode ends, which is get us the fuck out of here before Data asks me about terrorism one more time.
Yeah. So, with all that in mind, I'm looking at the bottom of the list. We've got, so above lift us where suffering cannot reach. Is this better than future tense? Like, there's actually stuff happening in this one.
I hated this episode But
Yeah.
at least I felt something.
Yeah.
Even if it was anger. Like, okay. And there were some times when there was some unintentional comedy from the background extras. Like, the one Starfleet officer next to the guy who gets shot and screams and runs away.
God, that
Fantastically bad acting.
amazing.
The bit when the police officer takes the guy and goes, next one, off screen. It sounded like he went, right, mate? And I had to stop and rewind a few times because it sounded like he stepped outside, let the guy and went, all right, mate. There's some nice, that Picard list launching himself across the bridge and punching a guy. Like, that was cool.
Action hero Picard.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if this is the first time Picard gets to punch a guy in the show. It won't be the last. As Patrick Stewart's like, can I get more punching, please? Like, I know we have Frakes to do the punching and the kissing, and Frakes is very good at the punching and especially the kissing. Believe me, that even with the beard, that man is a good kisser. But so Patty wants some of the punching and the kissing, please. I know I'm not Patrick yet, but Patrick, what punchy.
Wow. So, circling back yet again, tried to rein this in to the list. It made you feel something.
It made me feel something.
Did not.
It did not. Like, Broken Bow, man. Fuck. Am I going to have to defend fucking Peanut Hamper?
What is better than this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Peanut Hamper's a terrible character. And, it's like, yeah.
But everyone is themselves. Everyone acts consistently and not in ways where they feel like they have to quieten it all down.
Yeah, like, it's just this episode tries and fails. And the thing is, it's not as if it's a Plato stepchildren where you're like, how could you salvage this?
Yeah.
This is very much of like, this could be salvaged, but it would involve everyone involved to be having to like make some difficult writing choices, and instead decided let's not make choices. Choices are difficult.
So below mathematically perfect redemption, we have remembrance from Picard. Again, these feel like difficult things to have to defend.
Yeah. I think this might be better than remembrance because, oh dear God, like if we have if this was an hour of Picard just gently tugging at his neck and going, let's not try and talk about any of the serious issues presented. Remembrance is just kind of Picard going, things used to be better, damn it, get off my porch.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so that puts it all the way down at 125 out of now 130 entries on our big list. And everyone breathe.
But seriously, what was up with the roguelike white stripe in their hair?
Yeah, what the fuck was that? Some of them had that, and then you could see like a silver like bit of something on their clothing, make it look like it kept going.
Like, this is one of those ones where the costume was like, okay, choices were made to have like the blue like Babylon 5 like jumpsuits for the space filth, and like, you know, the Anastrans just have like the purple sweater vest and blue long sleeve shirt number. Yeah,
they could have done better with all of that.
I think that's the summation for this episode. They could have done better.
They could have. And yeah, that's it for us this week. Next time, it's going to be Halloween, or near enough. So we're going to light some haunted candles.
We're going from one... Like, okay, I will say this. Beverly was good in this episode.
Beverly was good.
Like,
but Beverly's generally good.
Yeah.
We're going to see another Beverly-specific episode next time.
I am like in a different story. This would have had more. Finn tries to seduce Beverly. it would have gone a bit more. Okay, you know what? If you're interested by the themes presented in this episode of Star Trek, I'm going to recommend a book.
Mhm.
The Little, which unfortunately is also very politically relevant to the times in which we live, which is The Little Drummer Girl by John le Carré, which is a fantastic novel about an actress who is recruited by Western military powers to infiltrate and seduce a Palestinian terrorist leader. It's a very good book.
Cool. Yeah, it's been a long time since read any le Carré. So, read that. It's not mandatory reading for the next episode,
No.
but maybe a candle.
Yeah, if we get really desperate, we'll do the casual episode on John le Carré. Casual.
Find some link somehow.
In desperation not to do a Lost spin-off podcast, we do casual le Carré.
Anyway, our plugs.
The casual who came in from the cold. There we go. There's our
Oh
title.
my god. Wow. Okay. Good work there. Yes, so plugs. We have a Ko-fi, kofi.com/casual trek. Give us some money and just give us some money. But also, if you do, suggest an episode of Star Trek and we will cover it for you as long as we've not already done it. We have Casual Trek's presence online, mainly on Blue Sky at casualtrek.bsky.social and my own skyshark.bsky.social. I also have a blog at Faked Tales and Who Dares Rolls, where I talk about games. Miles, what about you?
You can see me at my Blue Sky at milesreedlabato.bsky.social and on my blog at mareedlabato.wordpress.com, which hopefully in the next few days I will have posted something about the animated film Transformers 1, which I'll be honest, presented the themes as seen in this episode with surprising nuance for
Ooh.
an animated film about transforming robots.
Nice.
Who knows? I'm seeing Megalopolis tomorrow because the new Coppola film.
Yeah.
My dad sent me my stepdad Phil sent me an email saying this is strange and weird. It's right up your alley, which is the best movie criticism money can buy.
Excellent. Well, good luck with that, and good luck with not getting your things banned, audience. Good luck with the madness, torture, sadism, and disease.
Why, thank you. I will.
Yeah. I was going to say, pick one, and
I'll have one of everything, please, waiter.
Okay, good, and you lot go do a Starfleet. Just don't try and take over the galaxy, and don't do any of what was covered in the high ground.
Do a Starfleet. Make sure you're registered to vote in your local level elections, and be involved in how your country is run. Do a Starfleet. Don't be a centrist.
Yes, and reward yourself, but for not being a centrist by having a jelly baby.
That tagline's never going to catch on.
No, we need something catchy.
I don't know. I think it'd make a good T-shirt of just like the Star Trek like Starfleet logo and just having a big block in the big Star Trek font. Don't be a centrist.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, do that
and enjoy jelly babies.
Yeah. Bye. You have been listening to Casual Trek, a Nerd and Tie podcast, presented by Charlie Etheridge Nunn and Miles Reed Labato. Music by Alfred Etheridge Nunn. Edited by the hosts and by Reanna Reed Labato. Star Trek is owned by Paramount. Not us. Not yet.